If you've ever had a season where you've maybe felt not good enough, maybe you don't know what you're called to do, or just have even questioned God, you are not alone. My next guest has been there and is going to walk us through some of those questions as well. Phil, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Great to be here, Sammy.
Thank you for joining us. You know, you've done a lot in your life, but what you're doing now with Reality Co is really interesting. Can you just give our audience a little backstory on how you got to where you are at a time where you weren't sure where you were going?
Yeah, I was a pastor for 20 years, and it just was really in the season where I was just questioning what was next. And so I just began just pleading and praying, and all of a sudden, my wife asked me one day, said, what would you do if God let you do whatever you wanted? And I just said, I think it's called Reality Co, and I think it has something to do with blessing offer. So all I knew,
that's all we need to know.
Else. I mean, and so we just started running with that, and just it kind of like was developing, it was changing, we were experimenting, and where it really landed was kind of building something out of my pain, and to see how do I use this and steward what I was given to help others to find safe places when they're navigating their own struggles with themselves, with their backgrounds, with their faith, with the world that's going on around us.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because I think so often we think because something hard is happening to us, or because something sad is happening to us, we're doing something bad, or we're down the wrong path, when really that is sometimes what we need to be able to navigate to the path that God is calling us to. What advice do you have for people that are just like, that's good for you, Phil, but you don't know what I'm going through?
You know, for me, it really was this moment where I had to get really, really honest for the first time in my life. Honest about where I was at, honest about what I really felt. And so like when I work with people, one of the first things I tell them is like, I want you to get brutally honest with as the most frank language you can with God, and to just say, this is how I feel towards you. This is how I feel about my situation. And then I always teach them to do this, and then tell him, meet me here. And you see, there's something that happens, you know, it's true of our relationships with one another, that when we go through hardship, and we see someone at our ugliest moments and not bat an eye, and still walk beside us and love us. There's a depth of intimacy that we never experience apart from those moments. And so just be real with him.
And I think, I'm so glad you said that. I think as Christians, so often we try to put it on. We try to put on the face. We try to, so, okay, let's say we have the brave, you know, the courage to do that with God, right? That's one thing that a lot of people are like, I can't do that and say that to God. Well, how do you then find someone to do that to, like you? Because you you say you're that triangle, I think. What do you always say? It's so good between.
So kind of like the space between a pastor, counselor, and a manager.
There you go. Okay, so how do people find a you in their life? You know, if they've done that with God, then how do they have that to say, I'm ready to do this with another human being?
I think you can pick up on real. Like you pick up when someone feels really authentic. You know, typically there's someone who's been through something, and they made it on the other side. So, you know, I often describe what I do as being a spiritual Sherpa. You know, I love all things cold, so at least reality shows. And I know we used to watch that Everest show, and these Sherpas, they would go and take these people on the craziest journey of their life and help them to try to navigate it and make it back. And the reason they could, because they were there once themselves. And were able to make it back. So they could give them tools, they could give them the best routes to go. But at the end of the day, they couldn't guarantee anything. They said, this is the best way. Yeah,
that's good. And I think, you know, we have just a minute left. When you're trying to think about how real can I be? You know, we talk about even within the Christian, we're in music and whatever, in the pastorship, we're still people. How do you just take that mask off? What's the first step? You know, you've met God, you try to find someone. What's that check then to say, okay, this is really me?
You know, I think it's really just understanding grace. Does God really unconditionally loving me no matter where I'm at? And when you really begin to live that, you can begin to be free, because I'm not worried about putting up a face for Sammy or for anybody else. I'm really beginning to see, like, the more I get in tune with who I've been created to be, who I am in him, I'm beginning to be free in my life. And I think freedom is so compelling for other people.
That's so good.
And you can see, when you get around free people, you're going to feel it.
Where can people find out more?
You can find out more at realityco.org.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Sammy.
We pray that wherever you are in your journey, that you will first of all be real with God, and then reach out. It's never too late to be true to who you are. Thank you, Phil, for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Sammy.
Appreciate it.